Chapter 9:16. Returning to Eternal Sky Sect, Demonic Blade King prepared to take his leave. Brother Yi, you've entered life and death realm, so I don't have anything good to give you. This is the general principles of demonic blade arts. You can refer to it, and it should help you avoid some detours. Taking out a jade strip from his storage ring, Demonic Blade King handed it over to Yichen. Yichen was a bit hesitant. Demonic blade arts were the foundation of Demonic Blade Sect, and the other party just handed it over to him. He was truly startled and unprepared. When the nest is overturned, no egg can remain unbroken. In Brother Ye's hands, demonic blade arts should display even greater effect. In that case, I might as well help you. I only hope that Brother Yi won't spread the arts. Demonic Blade King said. Slowly letting out a breath, Yichen heavily nodded. Many thanks, Senior Demonic Blade King. If there's time in the future, Yichen will definitely pay you a visit and drink until we're drunk. Yichen's words showed that he considered the other party as a friend. Then I'll definitely welcome you. Demonic Blade King laughed heartily. Giving away demonic blade arts might be a big deal for Demonic Blade Sect, but for Demonic Blade King, it was nothing. To be able to make friends with Yichen, even 10 demonic blade arts were worth it. Moreover, Yichen's main path of development was not vibration power. With or without demonic blade arts, he could still reach the peak. Demonic blade arts would only make his progress a bit faster. A few days after Demonic Blade King and Lan Samei left, Yichen continued to study demonic blade arts. The general principles of the magic blade technique did not describe the vibration force in detail, but the structure was very clear. If one were to use an adjective to describe it, the magic blade technique was like a framework. If the framework was perfect, all one needed to do was fill it in. There was no way to take a detour. The magic blade technique could also be compared to the trunk of a large tree. The trunk was straight, and no matter how the branches developed, it would not affect the balance of the entire tree. It could grow healthily. In short, although demonic blade arts would not increase Yichen's comprehension of vibration power by much, it would allow Yichen to advance without worrying about any detours. This would naturally save him a lot of time. I've already mastered the heaven-inflicted sword, but I haven't mastered it yet. With this demonic blade art, I should be able to master it soon. It was very, very difficult for a powerful martial art to reach perfection. Mastery meant that the martial art's power had been unleashed to its greatest extent. Perfection meant that the martial art had been completely comprehended, regardless of whether it was important or trivial. This was difficult to achieve in a short period of time. No matter how good a martial art was, it still needed to be tested countless times in order to discover its flaws and inadequacies. Yichen had just perfected the heaven-inflicted sword and had not fought with anyone before. Naturally, it was difficult for him to discover the flaws and inadequacies of the heaven-inflicted sword. It's time to leave. On this day, Yichen had the thought of leaving the Blood Sky Land. Before I leave, I should create a consciousness avatar. Life and Death Kings had many abilities. Mental projection and will projection were the most frequently used, and also the most practical. The creation of the mental perception body could be said to be simple, but it could also be said to be difficult. Simple because all Life and Death Kings knew them. Difficult because the quality of consciousness avatars varied. The high ones had about 1/3 of the main body's battle power, while the low ones didn't even have 1/5 of the main body's battle power. Moreover, they were easy to collapse. For example, the consciousness avatar of the masked man had about 1/3 of the masked man's battle power. Its structure was also very stable, and it wouldn't collapse so easily. It meant that the masked man had made quite a bit of progress in creating consciousness avatars. If not for Yichen's soul light, it wouldn't have collapsed so easily. The first step of creating the consciousness image was to use himself as the model and use Zhen Yuan to sketch out a human body, then fill it with internal organs, bones, blood, muscles, and the most important meridians. All of these were simulated with Zhen Yuan. The Zhen Yuan of a Life and Death King had already reached the level of imitation. Moreover, this was Yichen's own Zhen Yuan. Therefore, the simulation was naturally lifelike, without a trace of falsehood. The next step was the most important one: condensing the soul core. The only part of the human body that life and death kings couldn't simulate was the soul ocean. The soul ocean was infinitely small, yet infinitely large. It was miraculous, and its structure was extremely stable. This was also the main reason why soul attacks couldn't destroy the opponent's soul. The soul core was naturally not as stable as the soul ocean, but it could at least hide the soul power inside without leaking out. In theory, a perfect consciousness avatar could exist for countless years without dissipating. Done. Looking at the consciousness avatar in front of him that looked exactly the same as him, and even had the same aura, Yichen revealed a trace of emotion and a sense of accomplishment. The consciousness avatar could be said to be an extension of oneself to a certain extent. Because it was the same soul, it could share information, and the martial skills that one had mastered could be used by the consciousness avatar as well. Of course, since the consciousness avatar was not the main body, its endurance was somewhat limited. Some martial skills that were too powerful would be somewhat difficult to use, such as the Heaven Wounding Sword with its powerful vibrating power. Even if the consciousness avatar could use it, it probably wouldn't be able to display its full might. Apart from this, the innate ability Soul Light couldn't be used either, since it involved the mysteries of the human body. Yichen could only simulate the human body, so how could he comprehend all the mysteries of the human body? The consciousness avatar existed in the meridians. Although it couldn't cultivate, it could still recover Jin Yuan through martial arts. Originally, this consciousness avatar could have 1/3 of Yi Chen's cultivation base. However, Yi Chen's cultivation base was not enough, and he was also lacking supreme grade spirit stones. How could he pour in 1/3 of his cultivation base? He only stored 10 years' worth of cultivation base in the consciousness avatar. As far as he was concerned, the consciousness avatar was only used to protect Eternal Sky Sect, just in case. He reckoned that there would be few opportunities to fight, so he could recover his Jin Yuan in his free time. Taking out a mid-grade storage ring and the evil shattering sword, Yichen handed them over to the consciousness avatar. I can leave now. Without notifying Li Zhangfeng, Yichen directly tore open the space and escaped into the void. With 4-star battle strength, there was almost no place in this world that Yichen couldn't go. Moreover, Yichen was proficient in the space profound, and his escaping skills were absolutely top-notch. Let's go to chaotic demonic ocean first. Although Murong had left willingly with the demonic human emperor, it was still somewhat oppressive. Without strength, Yichen couldn't say anything. Now that he had strength, he naturally had the confidence to speak as an equal. Using his movement art, Yichen was like a fish, and the power of space was like water. In less than 2 hours he arrived at the chaotic demonic ocean, which was surging with demonic chi. The chaotic demonic ocean was vast, but it was extremely easy to find the demonic human clan. One only needed to rush to the center of the ocean. Chaotic demonic ocean had a total of 10 great demonic human clans, and each of them occupied hundreds of islands. With the 10 great demonic human clans gathered together, they occupied thousands of islands, densely packed together. It was clear that only a small portion of the islands here were natural. Most of them had been moved here from other places. These thousands of islands faintly formed the shape of a flower. In the position of the flower's stamen were 5 black lotus islands. Palaces sat on these islands, and demon chi surged. In the middle of the Lotus Island Palace, the demonic human emperor's eyes opened wide, revealing a trace of astonishment. He's here so quickly. Interesting. Seems like he's the one who caused such an uproar a while ago. I wonder what level his strength has reached. Since he dares to come here, it shouldn't be low, right? The demonic human emperor was just a general term for demonic monarchs, not her title. Her title was Demon Flower Emperor. Demons had many branches, and the Demon Flower Emperor had half human bloodline and half flower demon bloodline. She could innately control the demonic flower and recover her own demonic power by absorbing its demonic power. Bone Demon, let's test his strength. Demon Flower Emperor sent a soul transmission to a nearby demonic human king. Who dares intrude on my chaotic demonic island? There were 10 great clans in the demonic human clan, and each clan had a demonic human king. However, most life and death kings knew that there were more than 10 demonic human kings in chaotic demonic ocean. There were definitely more than 15. Therefore, as soon as Yichen arrived above the islands, he was immediately discovered. Following a loud shout, 5 black figures flew out from different islands and blocked Yichen's path. One of these 5 was precisely the demonic human king who had chased after Yichen before. "It's you!" The demonic human king was startled. "Flash demon, you know him?" One of the demonic human kings asked. "I know him. He's Yichen." "Yichen? It's him. Could it be that the deluge of heavenly flowers a while ago was caused by him?" Hearing these words, the other 4 demonic human kings didn't dare to look down on Yichen. Once a genius entered life and death realm, their battle strength would be extraordinary. Moreover, Yichen was a peak genius ranked first in life and death substitute list. "Long time no see." Sizing up the Flash Demon King, a faint smile appeared on Yichen's face. "Yichen, why have you come to my Disorder Demon Island?" The Flash Demon King asked. "The demonic human emperor should know that I'm here. Why hasn't he come out to see me?" Yichen's gaze pierced through countless islands and landed on the Lotus Island at the center. It was a vast expanse of haze. Clearly, it was covered by a soul stone array. Soul power couldn't penetrate it and see what was inside. If the Patriarch wants to see you, he will naturally see you. If there's nothing else, leave quickly. The Flash Demon King didn't like Yichen at all. He had suffered a huge loss at the hands of the latter, and was beaten miserably by Yuan Emperor's projection. "Are you trying to probe my strength?" Yichen looked pensive. "Yichen, this is the Disorder Demon Island. It's not a place where you can come and go as you please. I advise you to leave quickly." The strongest among the 5, the demonic human king, shouted. "Since you want to probe my strength, I'll let you have a look." Yichen muttered to himself. Sword domain suddenly spread out, enveloping the 5. Pung ping ping ping. The enormous sword pressure sent the 5 flying, unable to stop their bodies. Chapter 9:17. Sword domain has reached the 2nd layer. Inside the palace, Demon Flower Emperor revealed an astonished expression. As far as she knew, the improvement of sword domain was extremely difficult. The 2nd layer seemed low, but it was actually very high. Sky Sword Continent's Blue Cloud Sword Emperor's sword domain was merely at the peak of the 3rd layer. However, once a Life and Death Sword King obtained sword domain, they would be unstoppable when battling kings of the same level. Arrogant, the sword pressure brought by sword domain only sent the 5 flying back, not injuring them. The Flash Demon King flew into a rage out of humiliation and struck out with a palm strike. A black crack imprinted itself on Yichen's body. It was precisely the Demon Mark Annihilation martial skill he had used during his battle with Yuan Emperor's projection. It was tyrannical and overbearing. The other 4 also used their killing moves, wanting to give Yichen a show of strength. Although Yichen had 4-star battle strength in terms of defense, he was no different from a 1-star king. Therefore, he naturally wouldn't be careless and allow the 5 to land their attacks on his body. Among these 5, 2 were 1-star kings, 2 were 2-star kings, and the strongest was a 3-star king. The 5 joined hands, creating a huge momentum. Unfortunately, their opponent was Yichen. Treading on the void, Yichen appeared dozens of li away as if he had teleported. The 5's attacks missed. Space profound. The pupils of the strongest among the 5 shrank. Patriarch had asked him to probe Yichen's strength. But, even before the latter made a move, he already felt that he might not be his opponent. 3-star Overlord? Or 4-star? His strength was at the peak of 3-star. If Yichen were a 3-star Overlord, he might be able to roughly estimate the latter's strength. But if he were a 4-star Overlord, it would be impossible. "I am Bone Demon King. I would like to ask for pointers." Bone Demon King's muscles were small, and his bones were thick. He was tall and skinny, and his weapon was a bone spear. The spear tip flickered with a cold light, seeming even sharper than metal. Yichen glanced at the Flash Demon King and the other 3. Seeing that they had retreated quite a bit, he said to the Bone Demon King, "Make your move." He also knew that there was a gap between him and the demonic human emperor. Now that he was in the demonic human emperor's territory and the demonic human emperor wanted to test his strength, he naturally had to reveal some of his strength. Otherwise, what was the point of him coming here? Dark Bone Prison. The Bone Devil King's left hand's seal changed, and he let out a low shout before he suddenly closed his palms. Kalala. In the void, countless white bones condensed out of thin air and rapidly assembled, finally forming a huge cage of white bones, trapping Yichen inside. Above the cage of white bones, demonic energy roiled, forming black vortexes. As soon as these vortexes appeared, the space around them immediately shattered, and the power of space became chaotic. Sealing the space? Being inside the white bone cage, Yichen could sense that the space power around him had become extremely violent. Right now, if he wanted to escape into the surreal space, it would be 10 times harder than before. If he was not strong enough, he might even be crushed by the space power and the dark whirlpool the moment he tried to escape into the surreal space. Dark stab. After doing all this, the Bone Devil King's figure flashed, and the white bone spear in his hand pierced towards Yichen. A black light condensed on the tip of the spear, and the black light was extremely devouring. The surrounding light was involuntarily drawn in, causing the space where the Bone Devil King went to become dark, and the trajectory of his stab could not be seen. Ding! In the next moment, in the dark void without a trace of light, bright sparks suddenly burst out. With the light from the sparks, one could see that the cage of white bones had a huge gap cut out. On the opposite side, the bone spear in the Bone Devil King's hand had disappeared, and his right arm was dripping with blood, hanging limply at the side of his body. A mouthful of blood spurted out. The Bone Devil King only felt that his whole body was sore and weak, and he could not exert any strength at all. Yichen's sword that contained the power of vibration had not only knocked away his bone spear, but also crippled his right arm. It had also caused internal damage to his body. In a short period of time, his combat power would not even be 10%. 4-star combat power. It's definitely 4-star combat power. The Bone Devil King sucked in a breath of cold air. The darkness dispersed, and so did the white bone cage. Yichen did not look at the Bone Devil King. His gaze pierced through the void, landing on the Lotus Island at the center of the countless islands. The Bone Devil King was only a peak 3-star combat power, and naturally could not make him use his full strength. That sword just now was just an ordinary vibrational sword arts, but it was already enough. With his 4-star combat power and mastery of space profound, it was enough to explain the problem. Bone Devil, you all go down. At this moment, the Demon Flower Emperor transmitted his soul to the 5 Bone Devil King and the others. Yes, the 5 Bone Devil King and the others gave Yichen a complicated look, and their figures flickered, flying back to their own islands. Yichen, come over for a chat. The Demon Flower Emperor transmitted his soul to Yichen again. Clang. Putting away the Sky Scorpio sword, Yichen flew towards the Lotus Island. On the east side of the Lotus Island, there was a 300 zhang pond. Black lotus flowers as big as millstones floated above the pond. They were sparkling like jade, and their blooming flower buds were emitting black light. Clearly, they were not ordinary. In the middle of the pond, there was an even bigger lotus, and on top of it was a pavilion. On the pavilion's 3rd floor, the Demon Flower Emperor was brewing tea, and the fragrance of the tea permeated the air. Space rippled. A faint cyan light flickered, and Yichen appeared on the pavilion's 3rd floor. Please sit. Dressed in luxurious black clothes, the Demon Flower Emperor extended his hand in invitation. Yichen frowned, but didn't sit down. Instead, he said, "A dignified human demon emperor, why don't you dare to show your real body?" With one glance, he could tell that the Demon Flower Emperor in front of him was only a consciousness projection. The Demon Flower Emperor's eyebrows twitched, surprise flashing in her eyes. "Good eyesight, but you misunderstand. My real body is still in the starry sky, and I can't find the time. Moreover, I'm not your little lover. Seeing my real body and consciousness projection won't make any difference, right?" As she spoke, she lifted the teapot and poured a cup of flower tea for Yichen. A flower fragrance that Yichen had never smelled before spread out, raising his spirit. "Good tea." Yichen sat down, picked up the teacup and took a sip, feeling the soothing feeling that the tea brought to his mind. Of course it's good tea. This is the famous black mandala flower tea of the demons. It can nourish the soul and adjust the mental state. But since your soul is full, just treat it as a pleasure. Putting down the teacup, Yichen asked, "Is Murong here?" "She is currently comprehending the path of life and death. She won't be able to come out for a while." "She can comprehend the path of life and death without leaving her house?" Yichen was a bit baffled. The Demon Flower Emperor explained, "Every race has a different way of comprehending the path of life and death. It's fine as long as you can comprehend it. But for you to comprehend the path of life and death so quickly, it's more or less beyond my expectations." Yi Chen's growth speed was too shocking. Now, he already had 4-star battle prowess. The Demon Flower Emperor truly regarded him as an equal existence. What needed to be explained, she would more or less explain. After all, with Yi Chen's rate of improvement, perhaps in a few years, the entire Elysium would revolve around him, and he would become one of the most respected people. The status of the demonic human race was awkward, and there would be many dangers in the future. At this time, it was even more important to build a good relationship with Yi Chen. Murong Qingqing was currently comprehending the path of life and death, so Yi Chen didn't want to dwell too much on this topic. Changing the topic, he said, "Senior should know quite a bit about the demons, right?" The Demon Flower Emperor slowly nodded, "Quite a bit." "I wonder if you can tell me a bit about the demons?" Yi Chen didn't know much about the demons. From his point of view, the Demon Flower Emperor, as the descendant of the demons and humans, should know a bit. The Demon Flower Emperor didn't answer directly and said, "Do you know how the demons came to Elysium?" "I don't." Yi Chen shook his head. "You should know about the Sky Sword Continent's Sky Sword, right?" Putting down the teacup in his hand, the Demon Flower Emperor said slowly, "In the ancient era, Elysium's kings were as numerous as the clouds, and it was extremely powerful. One day, a huge sword descended from the sky and tore apart the barrier of Elysium, ultimately landing on True Spirit Continent. Because the Sky Sword's might was too great, the entire continent was divided into 3 parts, becoming the present True Spirit Continent, Blood Sky Continent, and Sky Sword Continent. Sky Sword Continent was the core of the Sky Sword's might. However, the true danger wasn't the Sky Sword, but the otherworldly experts that followed it. There were demons, as well as other otherworldly races. The Sky Sword's divine might was unparalleled. After the world barrier was torn apart, it unexpectedly lost its ability to block the outside world for a short period of time. Those otherworldly experts who entered Elysium would at most suffer the suppression of Elysium's rules, but they wouldn't be harmed in the slightest. After all, Elysium is a world with abundant resources and countless treasures. Otherworldly experts had the intention to invade this place, so a great war broke out between them and the otherworldly experts of Elysium in ancient times. This war engulfed the entire Elysium, and battles broke out in every corner. In the beginning, there weren't many otherworldly experts, and they couldn't do much. However, as more and more otherworldly experts entered, the level of the war also increased until it was a battle of life and death. In this long war, the humans and demons of Elysium were naturally very powerful. Among the otherworldly races, the strongest were the demons. The demons led the otherworldly races and forced the humans and demons into a desperate situation, almost taking control of Elysium. However, at that time, the world barrier that was torn apart by the Sky Sword slowly repaired itself. If the demons and otherworldly races wanted to enter, they would have to pay a huge price in terms of strength. With the advantage in numbers and the oppression of the enemy in Elysium, the humans and demons gradually gained the upper hand. In the end, they annihilated the otherworldly army that invaded Elysium and sealed some otherworldly experts that couldn't be killed. From then on, Elysium was saved. Unfortunately, although Elysium was saved, the powerful kings at that time were almost all dead. The demons and other otherworldly races took this opportunity to seal the entrances and exits of Elysium, preventing any Elysium experts from leaving. Entrances and exits? Yi Chen seemed to have thought of something. The Demon Flower Emperor explained, "It used to be the entrances and exits. After the martial artists of Elysium reach life and death realm, They can enter and exit at will. But now, the entrances and exits have become dead ends. Since ancient times, countless kings have died on that dead end, killed by otherworldly experts. Their goal is to prevent Elysium from ever developing. This is because in Elysium, the rules limit the lifespan of humans to 1,000 years. But walking out of Elysium, one can break free from the restrictions of Elysium's rules, increasing one's lifespan by 100 times. Humans can live for 100,000 years. The Demon Flower Emperor revealed a piece of information that shocked Yi Qin. Chapter 9:18. 100,000 years. No wonder Senior Dragon King wants to go to the path of death. If he doesn't do it, he can only wait for death. If he does it, there is at least a glimmer of hope. Once he succeeds, his lifespan will reach 100,000 years and he won't have to worry about the end of his life. Moreover, with enough time, his battle prowess will increase steadily. Reaching 6 or 7 star is just a matter of time. While Yi Qin was shocked, he suddenly understood. Since the ancient times, no one has been able to go through it? Yi Qin asked. Demon Flower Emperor said, of course there are. Some relied on their strength and some relied on heaven-defying luck. However, no matter if it's strength or luck, no one has ever returned. If Elysium wants to be truly powerful, there must be a group of rulers who are comparable to the ancients or a ruler who surpasses the ancients. Otherwise, Elysium will sooner or later fall into the hands of otherworldly experts. I'm afraid that even if there is a group of rulers who are comparable to the ancients or a ruler who surpasses the ancients, they will only be able to protect themselves. Yi Qin wouldn't be so optimistic. In the ancient times, Elysium was already so miserable, let alone the current era. Unless that ruler surpasses the ancients is so powerful that it's heaven-defying. It's already not bad to be able to protect myself. After all, there is still hope. Demon Flower Emperor smiled bitterly. That's true. Yi Qin nodded slightly. Her gaze fell on Yi Qin. Demon Flower Emperor said, I can see that your battle prowess is at least above 4 star. In addition to your space profound, there aren't many in the entire Elysium who can deal with you. Demon Flower Emperor's eyesight was very powerful. When Yi Qin dealt with Bone Devil King, he obviously didn't use his full strength. As for how much strength he used, she didn't know. However, what really caught her attention was that Yi Qin's attainment in Space Profound was very high. Space Profound was one of the strongest profound. There were very few people who were proficient in it. Even if Yi Qin's Space Profound wasn't in the top 3, it was at least in the top 5. You flatter me. Yi Qin didn't feel proud at all. With the Space Upanishad, there weren't many people who could deal with him, but it wasn't certain that there were only a few of them. The world he lived in wasn't a materialistic world. In this world, there were all kinds of strange techniques. It was just that he hadn't met them yet, or maybe he didn't have the chance to meet them. I want to make a deal with you, but I don't know if you dare. Shaking his head, the Demon Flower Emperor suddenly said, What deal? Yi Qin had some guesses, but he wasn't sure. The full support of the demonic human clan and 2 million true essence crystals. Not to mention the great significance of the support of the demi-demon clan, the 2 million Zhenyuan crystals alone were priceless, enough to tempt any life and death realm warrior. 2 million Zhenyuan crystals? Are you from the Blackwater Alliance? Yi Qin made a connection. Zhenyuan crystals were something that no life and death realm warrior would be willing to make in large amounts to increase their cultivation base. If they really did so, they would be idiots. Condensing Zhenyuan crystals for their own cultivation would be pointless. As for giving them to the younger generation, they wouldn't need so much. Moreover, 2 million Zhenyuan crystals would take a long time to condense. Therefore, there was only one way to obtain a large amount of Zhenyuan crystals, from the outside. That's right. I'm also one of the people who knows about the Devouring Island. It's impossible for the Blackwater Alliance to monopolize the Devouring Island. Without a backer, the 2 Blackwater Alliances will be annihilated. Apart from me, there's another titled monarch who's working with them. The Devil Flower Emperor, as an Emperor Human Demonic King, had a large share of the true essence crystals. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to casually take out 2 million true essence crystals for a transaction. It must be known that the human demonic race was also a large family. Aside from her, who was a perfect human demonic beauty, the true essence crystals were useful to the other human demonic kings. What condition? Yichen asked. It's very simple. When you have the strength in the future, you can take care of the demi-demon clan. The Demon Flower Emperor replied, this condition is too vague. If the demi-demon clan betrays Elysium, do you think I will help them fight against the entire Elysium? Don't worry. If the demi-demon clan really betrays Elysium, the condition will be invalid. Yichen thought for a while and suddenly understood. The Demon Flower Emperor's deal with him was not to guard against Elysium, but against the demons. The demons had always been domineering. They would definitely recruit the demi-demon clan. If the demi-demon clan didn't comply, it would naturally arouse the dissatisfaction of the demons. Moreover, the humans and beasts of Elysium had some misunderstanding with the demi-demon clan. At that time, whether they would help the demi-demon clan or not was uncertain. At the very least, they would not be duty-bound. In this way, the demi-demon clan would be stuck in the middle. It could be said that it was full of danger. A slight carelessness could lead to the extinction of the entire clan. The Demon Flower Emperor was alone, so her role was too small. Of course, as for what the Demon Flower Emperor was thinking, outsiders could only guess. No one could read anyone's mind. Obviously, the other had taken a fancy to Yi Chen's potential. Right now, Yi Chen already had 4-star battle power. In the near future, he would definitely reach 5 stars, or even 6 stars. At that time, a single word from him would carry a lot of weight. As long as the demi-demon clan didn't betray them, perhaps because of one word from him, they would be safe. All right, Yi Chen agreed. This condition of the Demon Flower Emperor was not excessive. Not to mention, the other party was Murong's teacher, and Murong herself was a member of the demi-demon clan. If the day really came and the demi-demon clan was in trouble, Yi Chen would not just stand by and watch. 2 million Zhen Yuan crystals were very useful to him. It could increase his cultivation by another 50 years, reaching more than 230 years. I believe that you will keep your promise. A smile appeared on the Demon Flower Emperor's face. In her opinion, Yi Chen reaching 5-star battle power was 100% certain. In the future, he would definitely be a powerful support for the demi-demon clan. If he could reach 6-star battle power, the possibility of the demi-demon clan surviving this crisis would be very high. Adding on the growth of Murong Qingqing, the situation was very optimistic. Senior, don't worry. Yi Chen has always taken promises very seriously. Yi Chen said solemnly. Here are 2 million Zhen Yuan crystals. Nodding, the Demon Flower Emperor took out a storage ring and handed it over to Yi Chen. Taking the storage ring, Yi Chen didn't even look at it and directly put it away. All right, I've only told you about the origin of the demons, but I haven't told you the details yet. After the deal was done, the Demon Flower Emperor's mood lightened up. She said, the world barrier is the protective layer of a world. It contains the rules of this world. Apart from the entrance, no other place can enter or leave. Although the entrance can be entered or left at will, this is only for the people of this world. If the experts of other worlds enter through the entrance, they will suffer the backlash of the rules, which will greatly damage their bodies and souls. Because of the many factors of battle power, if one forcefully enters a world, the amount of damage would vary, but there is a general standard. 5-star king forcefully enters, which will decrease by 1 star. 6-star king forcefully enters, which will decrease by 1.5 stars. 7-star king forcefully enters, which will decrease by 2 stars. The higher one's strength, the higher the price one has to pay to enter a world. In recent years, there have been many experts from other worlds who have entered. Some have high strength, but none of them could truly threaten Elysium. They could only hide in the dark. Back then, the 9 underworld demon king that wreaked havoc in South Ridra region was actually a demon king of demons. Its strength was 5-star. Later, it was chased by Dragon King and Xianhou, but it did not die in the end. At that time, Dragon King's battle power was 5-star, while Xuanhou's was high-level 4-star. 9 Underworld Demon King is a demon king of demons? It was Yi Chen's first time hearing about it. As for Dragon King and Xianhou being able to chase 9 Underworld Demon King to such an extent, it was easy to understand. Dragon King himself had 5-star battle power, which was more or less the same as 9 Underworld Demon King. Although Xuanhou's battle power was high-level 4-star, it did not mean that a high-level 4-star battle power could not threaten a 5-star king. For example, Yi Chen had 4-star battle power, but if he stood still, he would still be killed by someone weaker than him. If the two of them joined hands, it would be normal for them to heavily injure 9 Underworld Demon King. The true threat of Elysium is those powerful beings from other worlds that have been sealed. Sealing has its pros and cons. On the pro side, it can seal those powerful beings that cannot be killed and gradually whittle away their power and vitality. On the pro side, it can slow down the flow of time. Those powerful beings from other worlds that were sealed in ancient times and medieval times might not be dead yet. Once they are unsealed, although they will be very weak, their bodies have already become familiar with the rules of Elysium after tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Therefore, they will not be suppressed too much. As long as they have treasures that can recover their power, they will be able to quickly reach their peak state. At that time, it will truly be the doomsday of Elysium. Sealing extended their lifespan, but it also whittled away their power. Those who survived were all peerless powerful beings. Yi Chen understood what Demon Flower Emperor meant. Those who were not powerful had all been sealed and killed. The power and vitality of a being was limited, so those who were not powerful would naturally be lacking something. Those who were truly powerful had all survived. Can you not find those sealed places? Yi Chen asked. Demon Flower Emperor shook his head. Some of the sealed places can be found, but some have disappeared from their original positions for some unknown reason. Nobody can find them. Moreover, too much time has passed, and some of the sealed places have changed due to some special reasons. So far, there are only a few sealed places in Elysium that are being monitored. That should be the case. Time was the most powerful weapon. Too many things had happened in the past hundreds of thousands of years, so many that they were innumerable. Suddenly, Yi Chen recalled that he had once been possessed by a demonic will in the underground cave of Sky Marshal region. That demonic will was extremely frightening. At that time, if not for the protection of Dragon King's will, his destruction sword intent would not have improved, and he would have been possessed. Could it be that there was also a powerful being from another world sealed there? Very likely. Yi Chen's brows creased. Chapter 9:19. The otherworldly experts that entered Elysium can find the sealed experts of their own race through a special method. Since their strength has been severely damaged, and the seals were set up by the powerful titled monarchs of ancient times, it is extremely difficult to unseal them. However, one day they will successfully unseal them, and once they unseal one, they will unseal the second one. This situation is very disadvantageous to us. Sighing, the Demon Flower Emperor said with a solemn expression, if Elysium wants to break this situation, we can only make 2 plans. The first is to find the hiding place of the otherworldly experts and join hands to kill them, ruining their plan to unseal them. The second is to find a lucky chance and work hard to increase our strength. I don't know if it is because Elysium has sensed the impending crisis, but this generation's geniuses are much more numerous than usual. It seems that starting from Xianhou, a new era has begun. If this is true, it won't take many years for Elysium to have a war of life and death, continuing the unfinished war of the ancient times. The Demon Flower Emperor's voice became more and more solemn, and his tone became gloomier. Find the hiding place of the otherworldly experts? Yi Chen's eyebrows twitched. With the eye of the soul, his probing ability could be said to be unparalleled in this world. Everything within 1 billion miles was within his observation range. Although the base of the otherworldly experts would definitely have many concealing formations and restrictions, as long as he spent some time, he would be able to find some clues. Unfortunately, he didn't have the time now. The eye of the soul could allow him to see anything within 1 billion miles, but to find some hidden things, it wasn't that easy. He had to search inch by inch and then carefully distinguish them. The amount of information was too large, and it was impossible to finish processing it in 1 or 2 days. As for how many days it would take, it would depend on his luck. If his luck wasn't good, he might not find anything in a year or so. He couldn't waste time on this at such a crucial time, as the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. At the very least, he had to increase his combat power to the point where it couldn't be increased in a short period of time before he could divert his attention to other things. Exhaling softly, Yichen said calmly, "We'll deal with whatever comes our way. It won't be easy for the powerful beings from the other worlds to invade Elysium. Of course, it won't be easy for us to protect Elysium as well. Since it won't be easy for everyone, then it's equivalent to standing on the same starting point. Why should we be afraid of them? Who will laugh in the end will depend on our own abilities." Hearing this, the Demon Flower Emperor looked at Yi Qin in astonishment. As expected of a swordsman, your imposing manner is indomitable. You are able to explain complicated matters in simple terms. Indeed, we are standing at the same starting point. If we lose, it means that we are not qualified to possess Elysium. We can't blame anyone. Sometimes, when one's state of mind was different, one's view of things would also be different. In a situation where things could not be salvaged, having a good state of mind was always better than having a bad state of mind. Rumble. Right at this moment, the huge Lotus Island suddenly trembled slightly. The demon chi surged even more violently. Ordinary people might not be able to sense this kind of tremble, or they might even ignore it. However, for Yi Chen and the Demon Flower Emperor, this kind of tremble was undoubtedly like a bolt from the blue. How could they not sense it? Frowning, Yi Chen released his soul power. Using his soul power, he could sense that within a radius of 100,000 miles, the demon chi was rising stealthily. The waves of the sea were more violent than usual, hitting the reefs around the islands. And in the center of these countless islands, which were the 5 Lotus Islands, the demon chi formed a beam of light that shot up into the sky. "Senior, what's going on?" Yi Chen asked. The Demon Flower Emperor didn't seem to be surprised by this situation. He explained, "The reason why I moved the 10 demonic human clans here is because there's a powerful demon chi at the bottom of this ocean. Every few years, a demon chi tide will occur. During the demon chi tide, the density of the demon chi will increase by 100-fold. To the members of our demonic human clan, this is the best time to cultivate. Take a look at these demon lotuses." The Demon Flower Emperor pointed at the black lotuses on the pond. Yi Chen looked over and noticed that the black lotuses on the pond were growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Originally, they were the size of a millstone, but in a short period of time, they had doubled in size. Some of the flower buds that had yet to blossom were also quietly blossoming, emitting a black light that tempted the soul. So that's the case. When Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing first came to the Chaos Demonic Ocean, they felt that this place was unusual. Even the demon beasts in the water seemed to have undergone a mutation. So it turned out that it was caused by the powerful demon chi at the bottom of the ocean. This place is known as the sacred land of the demonic humans. It's not a bad place. Yi Chen nodded. It was indeed better for Murong to train here than anywhere else. The demon chi tide will last for about a month. Apart from the initial and final stages, the middle stages are very calm. The Demon Flower Emperor sighed and continued, "Unfortunately, when a world war breaks out, this place will become the first choice of the demons. Only by occupying this place will they be able to fight a protracted war with us." "Senior, don't you find it strange that there's a place with powerful demon chi in Elysium? I believe that there's something mysterious at the bottom of this ocean. I believe that Senior has your suspicions." The demon chi in Elysium was sparse. The biggest problem for the demons was that they couldn't replenish their demon chi. They could only rely on the treasures they carried with them. However, treasures would eventually be used up. It was fine for a short period of time, but once the war dragged on, it would be dangerous. The other party was right. In the future, the Chaos Demonic Ocean would most likely become the base of the demons. I went down to investigate, but I couldn't get close to the demon chi core. The demon chi there has a powerful assimilation effect. If I get close, I'll become a part of the demon chi core. I won't be able to resist it. The Demon Flower Emperor smiled bitterly. That's amazing. Saying so, Yichen released his soul force and probed the depths of the ocean. 100,000 meters. 300,000 meters. 1 million meters. 5 million meters. 10 million meters. At 10 million meters, or 20,000 miles, the powerful demon Qi made it so that even soul force couldn't penetrate it. He could only sense darkness and boundless demon Qi everywhere. Amazing! Taking a deep breath, the space between Yichen's brows opened, and a silver vertical eye appeared. In the past, Yichen wouldn't expose his special abilities. But now, he already had 4-star battle prowess and was proficient in space profound. There was no need to hide it. Swish! The silver light beam was like a condensed light, penetrating the Lotus Island and looking down. This time, Yichen could see the demon Qi core below 20,000 miles. The powerful demon Qi only made his vision a little blurry, but it couldn't obstruct it. At a depth of 10,000 miles, Yichen finally saw the Chaos Demonic Ocean's demon Qi core. Is this it? Drawing with his true yuan, Yichen drew out what he saw in reality. The Demon Flower Emperor was startled by Yichen's soul eye. This was the first time she saw someone with a soul eye. Moreover, it seemed to be even more powerful than the legend said. Imperceptibly, Yichen's position in her eyes became even higher. With the soul eye, he could see everything in the world without even stepping out of his house. What Yichen had drawn out was a black prismatic crystal the size of an island. The two ends of the crystal were wrapped in bronze metal. The surface of the metal had countless patterns that flickered. Every time it flickered, a huge amount of demon Qi would be released. During the process, the demon Qi would be diluted into demon Qi. The black crystal formed by Zhenyuan shattered. Yichen's face turned pale. This thing was too mysterious. It had consumed a lot of his mental energy, and he couldn't maintain it for long. Senior, did you see anything? Yichen asked after taking a sip of the black mammoth flower tea. He felt much better. The Demon Flower Emperor hesitated. I don't know what this black crystal is, but the patterns on the bronze metal seem to be a transformation formation. It transforms the heaven and earth yuan Qi into demon Qi. After brewing, it condenses into extremely pure demon Qi and releases it, forming a cycle. Heaven and earth yuan Qi transforms into demon Qi. This should be a treasure left behind from the ancient era. It is also the reason why the demons were able to invade Elysium. Treasures were also divided into different types. Some could increase one's strength, some could increase one's defense, and some could increase one's vitality. This black crystal was undoubtedly a strategic treasure. Most likely so. The Demon Flower Emperor felt a headache. She still didn't know that there was a terrifying treasure under the Chaos Demonic Sea that could affect the war. This way, the demonic human race would be the first to face the demons. Time passed quickly, and the sun gradually set. Stay on the Lotus Island for a few more days. You can refine the true essence crystal into true essence. From the moment the transaction was made, the chaotic demon ocean's demonic human clan was walking on the same path as Yichen to a certain extent. One's glory, one's loss, one's loss. Yichen's strength was of enormous significance to the demonic flower emperor. Yichen didn't decline. He indeed needed time to refine the true essence crystal. Nothing was more reliable than his own cultivation. The night was as cold as water. Yichen was refining the true essence crystal on one of the Lotus Islands. This true essence crystal came from the same place as Yichen's true essence crystal. It didn't reach the low grade and could only be classified as a quasi-low grade true essence crystal. 2 days passed. 2 million true essence crystals were completely refined. On the other hand, Yichen's cultivation increased by another 50 years, reaching the level of 230 years. Although cultivation had the least effect on one's strength, unless the gap between the two was too big, the stronger one might not necessarily have the upper hand. However, there was an advantage to having a profound cultivation, and that was being able to fight. It should be known that operating the undying body required Zhenyuan, and using powerful moves required Zhenyuan as well. Without Zhenyuan, what could one use to fight against others? Others could exhaust you to death. Cultivation was like an engine. Without it, no matter how good the other parts were, it would be useless. Time to return to True Spirit Continent. On this day, Yichen bid farewell to the Demon Flower Emperor and entered the void, rushing toward True Spirit Continent. Chapter 920. Back then, Yichen didn't know how long it had taken him to travel from True Spirit Continent to Blood Sky Continent. But this time, the time spent was 1,000 times shorter. It was as if there wasn't an endless ocean between them, but a river, a lake, and a bridge that would allow them to reach the other side. I'm finally back. On the coastline of True Spirit Continent, Yichen's figure appeared with a complicated expression. When he left, he only had the cultivation base of Sea of Soul Realm. But after returning, he was already a life and death king, and not an ordinary one at that. His cultivation base had reached 230 years, and his battle strength had skyrocketed to 4 stars. It could be said that the current him could kill 100 of his previous selves with a single sword strike. Times had changed. Although Senior Dragon King's life and death are unknown, his Dragon God Celestial Palace can't be encroached upon by others. Opening his silver vertical eye, Yichen's gaze pierced through half of the continent and landed on the Dragon God Celestial Palace in the eastern shallow ocean. That place had already changed masters, being occupied by Whirlwind Gate, Waterwave Sect, Black King Gate, and Sky Eagle Cult, divided into 4 parts. Moreover, Waterwave Sect still had a king overseeing it. Let me see what kind of trump cards you have. His figure turned illusory as Yichen dove into the void. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the space above the Dragon God's Celestial Palace distorted, and a figure walked out. His blue robes fluttered in the wind, and his expression was cold and solemn. Sucking in a deep breath, Yichen operated his Zhenyuan and roared, "All those who aren't from Dragon God's Celestial Palace, get the hell off this island." His voice wasn't loud at first, but as it spread out, it grew louder and louder. It was like a mountain torrent, a thunderbolt, and a torrential downpour. Everyone on the island heard this voice, especially the last, "Get the hell off." It was filled with killing intent, and its speed was extremely fast, piercing through one's soul like a swift sword. Who's so daring? Everyone on the island was stupefied. Whirlwind Gate, Black King Gate, Waterwave Sect. There was also the Heavenly Eagle Cult. It was unknown whether Dragon King was dead or alive. This island had long since become the common territory of the Eastern Shallow Ocean's 4 major powers. This news had already spread throughout True Spirit Continent and the surrounding seas. However, not a single person came to cause trouble. Even the world-famous Xianhou couldn't do anything to the 4 major powers. It was said that she was stopped by a powerful titled monarch. This made the other powers coveting Dragon God's Celestial Palace even more afraid. They could only watch as the 4 major powers devoured everything. Now, someone actually dared to tell them to get the fuck out. Didn't they eat the guts of a leopard? He's simply courting death. Even Xianhou couldn't protect Dragon God's Celestial Palace, and he didn't even inquire about it. Perhaps it's a guy who received Dragon King's favor back then. He had been in seclusion for several decades and didn't know about the outside world. Seeing Dragon God's Celestial Palace changing owners, he couldn't accept it. Trouble comes from the mouth. Very well, let the people of the world know the consequences of offending us 4 great powers. On the island, the people from the 4 major forces discussed with disdain. Audacious! Which scoundrel is causing trouble here? From the western side of the small continent-like island, a figure flew over. He had a head full of gray hair and wore a dark green robe. He seemed to be in his 50s or 60s. The old man stood a few li away from Yichen. "You are?" The gray-haired old man was a bit hesitant. He seemed to feel that Yichen's face was familiar. "You're Yichen." Suddenly, the gray-haired old man shouted. He had seen Yichen's portrait. Back when the 4 major forces were probing Dragon God's Celestial Palace, Yichen had helped Dragon God's Celestial Palace heavily injure the 4 major forces, causing them to lose a lot of their core forces. As a result, Yichen had become a thorn in their flesh. "Not bad, I'm back." Yichen looked down at the other party. "Yichen? Which Yichen? Could it be True Spirit Continent's Sword Master Yichen? It's really him. No wonder I felt a bit familiar." Due to the distance, the crowd couldn't see clearly. Only after hearing the gray-haired old man's words did they recognize him. When did he enter life and death realm? Could it be that the deluge of heavenly flowers a while ago was caused by him? Although I don't want to admit it, this Yi Chen is definitely the most frightening genius since Yuan Emperor. He seems to be in his early 30s. Yi Chen's fame was too great, so great that no one in the younger generation could compare to him. The four major forces also had geniuses, but compared to Yi Chen, they were like fireflies compared to the bright moon. There was simply no comparison. Even Duguju and Dantai Mingyue, who were currently at their peak, were a bit lacking compared to Yi Chen. And now, Yi Chen had unexpectedly become a life and death king. If this news were to spread, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Too bad, he's still too arrogant. He's just entered life and death realm, and he's already thinking of reviving Dragon God's celestial palace. Who does he think he is? If I were him, I would have chosen to conceal my strength and bide my time. The discussions below didn't affect the two above. The gray-haired old man gloomily said, "Yi Chen, what are you doing here? Let me give you a word of advice. Don't cause trouble here. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave even if you want to." The gray-haired old man didn't dare to be careless. It was said that geniuses who entered life and death realm possessed extremely powerful battle strength. For example, Xianhou had become a peak king not long after entering life and death realm. Therefore, he didn't have the confidence to defeat Yi Chen in a one-on-one battle. He planned to first persuade Yi Chen to retreat, then join hands with the other three to take him down. Leave? Why should I leave? You don't have the qualifications to say such words. If Yi Chen's guess wasn't wrong, the other party was the sect leader of Water Wave sect, the Water Wave King. Apart from Dragon God's celestial palace, the other four kings of Eastern Shallow Ocean were all high-step kings. Water Wave sect had Water Wave King, while Whirlwind Gate, Black King Gate, and Sky Eagle cult had Whirlwind King, Black King King, and Sky Eagle King respectively. It was precisely because these four were all high-step kings that they could contend against Dragon God's celestial palace. Of course, with Dragon King's strength, he could actually surpass these four kings. Therefore, behind these four powers, there must be a powerful backer. Impudent. Since you don't want to leave, then don't. This was the first time Water Wave King was looked down upon by a youngster. Although Yi Chen's talent was exceptional, he didn't believe that Yi Chen could raise his battle strength to that extent in such a short time. On the other hand, he had 3-star battle strength and 800 years of cultivation base. He could grind the opponent to death. Flood Palm. With a furious roar, Water Wave King punched at Yi Chen. This palm contained the profound of water and earth. As it flew out, a flood overflowed the sky, ultimately condensing into a huge muddy palm. The space was immediately torn apart, shattering into pieces. Yi Chen unsheathed the Sky Scorpio sword, which immediately burst out with a resplendent golden light. He used the first style of vibrational sword arts, Sky Cutting Sword. With Water Wave King's battle strength, he wasn't worthy of Yi Chen using the second style of vibrational sword arts, Sky Cutting Sword. The muddy palm was cut apart, and the sword light containing berserk vibrational power shot toward Water Wave King. What sword art is this? Water Wave King was greatly shocked. His body turned into a stream of water and promptly dodged. Unfortunately, no matter how fast he was, he couldn't outrun the sword light. A small half of Water Wave King's body turned into a bloody mist, and even his internal organs were exposed. In the next moment, a mournful wail soared into the sky. This sword strike from Yi Chen made Water Wave King feel the threat of death. It should be known that he was neither Yi Chen nor Xianhou. His undying body was only at the peak of Broken Limb Rebirth Realm. It would be extremely difficult for him to reach Flesh Derivation Realm in his lifetime. This was because Flesh Derivation Realm was not something ordinary people could reach. Ordinary life and death kings would either be stuck at the peak of Broken Limb Rebirth Realm for their entire lives, or have a fortuitous encounter and directly reach the early Blood Drop Rebirth Realm. Flesh Derivation Realm could allow life and death kings to comprehend the mysteries of undying body. When they reached Blood Drop Rebirth Realm in the future, they would be able to continue advancing all the way to the peak of Blood Drop Rebirth, or even perfection. through a fortuitous encounter, they would be able to jump from broken limb rebirth to blood drop rebirth realm. For example, a person with slightly inferior talent would find it difficult to reach life and death chamber. If they had a fortuitous encounter, they could directly become a life and death king, but their battle strength would not be high. On the other hand, a person with high talent would make the transition in life and death chamber. After becoming a life and death king, their battle strength would be extremely formidable, and they could instantly become a mid-step king, or even a high-step king. Although Sky Cutting Sword was not Yi Chen's true killing move, it was still not something a high-step king could endure. Even if a part of its power was cancelled out by the Flood Palm, it still had enough power to kill Water Wave King. If not for the latter's movement technique being pretty good and dodging a bit, this sword would have taken his life. Junior, you're so vicious. Circulating the undying body, Water Wave King barely managed to restore his body. However, the peak level of limb regrowth wasn't very good for his torso. Thus, his injuries were extremely severe, and he only had 30 to 40% of his battle strength left. As he spoke, Water Wave King swallowed several glowing pellets. This time, I won't kill you. Take your people and scram. Yi Chen didn't continue attacking. Water Wave King didn't pose much of a threat to him. Killing him would instead make the situation unmanageable. He was sure that the four factions had an extremely powerful backer. Otherwise, Xianhou wouldn't have failed to protect the Dragon God's celestial palace, allowing it to fall into the hands of the four factions. You'll regret offending us, four factions. You'll definitely regret it. Water Wave King's complexion turned ashen. If you don't leave, I won't mind killing you. Yi Chen's eyes squinted, and his killing intent spread out bit by bit. Down below, the people of the four factions had long since been stupefied. Water Wave King couldn't even receive a single strike from Yi Chen. What kind of situation was this? Impossible! Water Wave King is a high-step king. How could Yi Chen defeat him with one sword and almost kill him? Don't tell me he's a peak king? High-step kings had 3-star battle strength, but even a 3-star tyrant couldn't be like Yi Chen, almost killing Water Wave King with one sword strike. Water Wave King was in a deadlock, as if waiting for something. Bang, bang, bang. Right at this moment, the sky suddenly shattered, and 3 powerful figures walked out. Yi Chen, you're courting death. Yi Chen, don't leave this time. The newcomers were precisely the other 3 kings, Whirlwind King, Black King, and Sky Eagle King. Chapter 9:21. You're all here just in time. Yi Chen sneered as he glanced at Water Wave King, then shifted his gaze to Whirlwind King and the other 2. This kid is troublesome. Let's take him down together. Water Wave King arrived beside the 3 and said with a grave expression, Water Wave King, you're injured? Seeing Water Wave King's weak aura and pale face, Sky Eagle King asked. Don't look down on him. Although he entered life and death realm not long ago, he already has the strength of a peak king. I can only cooperate with you and use 2 killer moves. After that, I won't have any battle strength left. Although Water Wave King was heavily injured, he could still use his full strength twice. What? Peak King strength? Black King with shiny skin and ugly face was incomparably shocked. Right? I couldn't even receive a single sword strike from him. Although Water Wave King loved his face, he wouldn't deceive himself. He entered life and death realm not long ago. Even if he has the strength of a peak king, he should only be a low 4-star king. The 4 of us can contend against a mid 4-star king. There's no need to make a fuss. The one speaking was the strongest among the 4, Whirlwind King. Although they were all high-step kings with 3-star battle strength, there was still some disparity in strength. Among them, Water Wave King and Sky Eagle King were high 3-star battle strength, Black King was peak 3-star battle strength, and Whirlwind King was a true 3-star overlord, an unparalleled existence among high-step kings. Unfortunately, what Whirlwind King didn't know was that Yi Chen's battle strength was far from low 4-star. Moreover, even if Yi Chen's battle strength was low 4-star, the 4 still wouldn't be able to defeat him. First, Yi Chen had Sword Domain, which allowed Yi Chen to ignore the number of enemies to a certain extent. When dealing with Water Wave King, Yi Chen didn't even use Sword Domain. Second, Yi Chen was proficient in space profound. Be it dodging or speed, he far surpassed them. Not to mention Yi Chen's 4-star battle strength. In fact, even if Yi Chen was a 3-star overlord, he would be able to defeat Water Wave King, Sky Eagle King, and Black King one by one, and ultimately fight Whirlwind King to a draw. Of course, Whirlwind King's cultivation base was much deeper than his. You'll know once you try, Yi Chen said calmly. Whirlwind King glanced at Water Wave King, Sky Eagle King, and Black King. He said slowly and firmly, "Attack together." Pooh. A violent whirlwind was formed in an instant. It left the Whirlwind King's palm and blasted towards Yi Chen. This whirlwind contained wind blades that were condensed to the extreme. On the wind blades, there was a layer of golden light. It was the metal ultimacy. The wind ultimacy and the metal ultimacy fused together, causing the Whirlwind King's attack to be incomparably sharp and indestructible. Flood Palm Print. Sky-tearing Eagle Claw. Poisonous Black Cloud Thorn. Immediately afterward, the Water Wave King and the other two also launched their attacks at Yi Chen. The power is not weak. Yi Chen's figure became illusory. With a puff, his figure disappeared. Yi Chen disappeared from where he was. A transparent ripple followed the gap between the chi forces and quickly passed through. Then, it instantly appeared in front of Water Wave King. It was not teleportation, but it was comparable to teleportation. The heaven-shattering sword art's second move, Orbital Slash, allowed Yi Chen to grasp how to follow the spatial ripple's trajectory and pass through with the fastest speed. Of course, compared to sword arts, it was at least several times harder to achieve this with a movement skill. But it was enough. Water Wave King roared. He struck a palm at Yi Chen, who suddenly appeared. His palm, which was wearing a dark green glove, was wrapped in a turbid chi force. The power was majestic and vast, each wave stronger than the one before. Yi Chen sneered and slashed horizontally with his sword. Buzz. The palm and sword collided. The turbid chi force released by Water Wave King was instantly shattered. Then, an invisible ripple passed through Water Wave King's palm. Boom! Water Wave King's right arm exploded into a bloody mist. The bones in his body cracked and cracked. His whole body was like a broken sack, blown away. It was unknown whether he was alive or dead. Restraining my strength doesn't feel good either. Yi Chen didn't kill Water Wave King. He just made him completely lose his fighting strength. After all, he was not alone. If he angered the people behind the four forces, even if they couldn't kill him, they would definitely take revenge. Before he was ready, he didn't want to fight to the death with them. Therefore, that sword attack just now was just an ordinary vibrational sword art. However, at close range, its lethality was especially strong, and the power of vibration was also the strongest. Seeing Water Wave King being blown away, Black King's ferocious nature burst out. His body suddenly turned into a huge black octopus. 8 tentacles covered the sky, and one of them entangled towards Yi Chen. Swoosh! The sword light shone brightly, and Black King's tentacle was cut off. Eagle Flurry Dance. Not far away, Sky Eagle King took advantage of this opportunity to condense his demonic energy into several fierce eagles, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as they swarmed toward Yi Chen. These eagles were vivid and lifelike. Apart from lacking intelligence, they were no different from real eagles. Each of them had a low 1-star battle strength and could easily kill a large group of ordinary kings. However, compared to Whirlwind King, Sky Eagle King's attack was much weaker. Whirlwind King, who was wrapped in whirlwind, formed a hand seal with one hand and pointed at the sky with the other. In the next instant, wind spears dozens of meters long containing golden light descended from the sky, forming a killing array that enveloped Yi Chen. Metal Wind Killing Array. With the help of Metal Wind Killing Array, Whirlwind King had once fought dozens of rounds with a low-level 4-star king. In the end, he managed to escape without suffering the slightest injury. However, all of this was futile. Ever since entering Life and Death Realm, Yi Chen had already displayed the space profound to the utmost. Before, he couldn't use it because his Zhenyuan and soul power were not strong enough. But now, his Zhenyuan was much purer than ordinary Life and Death Kings, and his soul power was also 10 times that of ordinary kings. In his hands, the space profound was like a fish in the water, and he could use it with ease. Yi Chen's figure disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already above Black King. Go down. Holding the sword with one hand, Yi Chen slashed down, striking Black King's huge body. The formless ripple was like a cannonball. Not only did it shatter all of Black King's tentacles, it even caused many cracks to appear on its body. With a swish, Black King's naked body smashed into the ground, stirring up huge ripples and creating a frightening crater on the island below. Blood gushed out. After doing all this, Yi Chen suddenly glanced at Sky Eagle King, who was about to launch another attack. Sky Eagle King's body stiffened. Yi Chen's gaze brought him an incomparably frightening pressure. It was as if countless swords were stabbing into his eyes, stabbing into his sea of soul. Among kings, there were two kinds of kings that were the most frightening. One was body-refining kings, and the other was kings with formidable willpower. The former was powerful in close combat, while the latter was overwhelmingly powerful. Yi Chen's destruction sword soul was at the 6th step, which was equivalent to an ordinary 7th step sword intent. Moreover, his soul power was 10 times that of an ordinary life and death king's. With a single gaze, he could make Sky Eagle King, who had a battle strength of 3-star, stiffen his body. Chapter 9:22. Whirlwind King did not see the look in Yi Chen's eyes. Seeing Sky Eagle King's body suddenly freeze, although it was a bit strange, he did not think too much about it. He only thought that Sky Eagle King was frightened by Yi Chen's methods. Gold Wind Flurry Cut. Whirlwind King's long-range attacks were all dodged by Yi Chen, not even touching his shadow. This time, Whirlwind King's entire body turned into a powerful whirlwind, sweeping toward Yi Chen. As he neared, golden wind blades shot out one after another, filling the sky. Facing Whirlwind King's all-out attack, Yi Chen didn't bat an eyelid. The Sky Scorpio sword slanted upwards, using the first style of sky-shattering sword arts, bewitching mirror shattering. The twisting spatial power directly twisted the countless golden wind blades into nothingness, as if they had never existed. Then, the berserk spatial power instantly solidified, sealing Whirlwind King. The next moment, the purple mirror-like solidified space power shattered into millions of pieces, and the spinning space fragments cut deep bloody wounds on Whirlwind King's body. Some of the larger space fragments directly sawed off Whirlwind King's arms and legs. If it were not for Whirlwind King strengthening his protective Zhenyuan with all his might, so many space fragments would have definitely turned him into nothingness, leaving not even a corpse behind. With Yi Chen's strength, the outdated bewitching mirror shattering still had a frightening might. If not for Yi Chen holding back, this sword would have killed Whirlwind King. Of course, even so, Whirlwind King's battle power had already been reduced to 80%, and he did not have much power to counterattack. In the end, only Sky Eagle King was left. Sky Eagle King recovered from his stupor. When he saw this scene, his expression was extremely unsightly, and there was a faint trace of wariness. A single gaze was enough to make his body stiff. How was he supposed to fight? Kings that cultivated will were always kings among kings. Even body refinement kings were much weaker than willpower kings. Kings with extremely powerful will could even make ordinary kings faint with a single gaze. Yi Chen, I advise you to think clearly whether you really want to start a war with our four forces. You should know that it's not without reason that our four forces could contend against Dragon God's Celestial Palace for so many years. King Tianying had lost the thought of fighting Yi Chen, but from the looks of it he seemed to be sure that Yi Chen would not dare to completely fall out with them. Tell me, maybe I'll change my mind. Yi Chen, on the other hand, wanted to know which titled monarch was supporting the four powers from behind, opposing the Dragon God's Celestial Palace. The Sky Eagle King hesitated for a moment before he said, "You should have heard of the ancient 100 beasts, the red-eyed black dragon tribe." The four great factions and the red-eyed black dragon tribe are in a cooperative relationship. Although you can defeat the four great factions today, you will have to bear the wrath of the red-eyed black dragon tribe in the future. This is not a wise decision. After that, Sky Eagle King sized up Yi Chen, carefully observing the changes on his face. Red-eyed black dragon. A trace of realization flickered in Yi Chen's heart. The red-eyed black dragon was not a true dragon, but a powerful flood dragon. Among the ancient 100 beasts, it was a demonic beast with top 5 aptitude. The red-eyed black dragon tribe was naturally a demonic beast race. They usually moved in the eastern deep sea, where they were overlords that no one dared to provoke. As an overlord, the red-eyed black dragon tribe's experts were as numerous as the clouds in the sky. Just the demonic kings alone numbered 4, and the most powerful one was a titled monarch called the Black Dragon Old Ancestor. Speaking of the red-eyed black dragon tribe, one couldn't help but mention the Dragon King. The Dragon King also had the flood dragon bloodline, and seemed to have some relationship with the red-eyed black dragon tribe. Many people suspected that the Dragon King was actually a member of the red-eyed black dragon tribe, but for some reason he had separated from the tribe and established his own sect, establishing the dragon god's celestial palace. If it was the red-eyed black dragon tribe supporting the 4 great factions, then everything would make sense. Otherwise, how could the 4 great factions resist the 5-star battle strength of Xianhou without any support? The red-eyed black dragon tribe is indeed quite powerful. Yi Chen was not lying. The red-eyed black dragon tribe was an overlord in the entire Elysium. Since you also know that you can't handle the anger of the red-eyed black dragon tribe, you should leave now. There is still time. This time, let's just treat it as a misunderstanding. Any king warrior was worthy of respect, not to mention that Yi Chen had a 4-star battle strength. If they lost, then so be it. In this world, the strong ruled, and one's fist did the talking. Moreover, because of Yi Chen's power, the Sky Eagle King did not dare to make things difficult for Yi Chen. If a 4-star battle strength met a 5-star battle strength, he would lose without a doubt. But he would still have a chance to escape. Although the red-eyed black dragon tribe was powerful, they might not be able to kill Yi Chen. If they went too far, it would only result in both sides suffering. If Yi Chen had a 3-star battle strength, the result would be completely different. When a 3-star battle strength met a 5-star battle strength, the possibility of escaping unscathed was extremely low, almost negligible. It could be said that the peak-level kings of Elysium were the highest existences. Titled monarchs would not be willing to offend a peak-level king unless it involved their own interests. Sometimes, they would even take a step back to avoid an intense conflict. Of course, peak-level kings were even more unwilling to offend titled monarchs, especially the slower ones. Yi Chen was currently a peak-level king, and his battle strength was obviously higher than a 4-star low level. The Sky Eagle King was overbearing, using the red-eyed black dragon tribe to force Yi Chen to submit and ask for forgiveness. This was definitely an extremely stupid thing to do. Therefore, he chose to retreat in order to advance, and let Yi Chen leave first. He did not dare to say anything else. The Sky Eagle King's thoughts were good, but unfortunately, Yi Chen's reply made him extremely surprised and angry. Let the Black Dragon Ancestor talk to me. Yi Chen's attitude was extremely unyielding. Senior Dragon King had taken great care of him. For his sake, he was willing to become enemies with the Heir Emperor. How could he not repay such kindness? If he didn't have the strength, it would be fine. However, his current battle strength was not weak. If he was unwilling to stand up for Dragon God's celestial palace under such circumstances, then he, Yi Chen, would have lived in vain. How could he be worthy of Senior Dragon King? In the depths of the void, the white-clothed Xianhou faintly nodded with a relieved smile on her face. You've finally grown up. Old Dragon King, if you were still alive, you would definitely be gratified. If you were dead, you would be able to rest in peace in the underworld. However, I didn't expect him to be so sentimental, willing to stand up for Dragon God's celestial palace regardless of offending the Black Dragon Ancestor. We didn't misjudge him. No, he's even more noble than we imagined. It was not that Xianhou didn't want to stand up for Dragon God's celestial palace. If Yi Chen wasn't afraid of the Black Dragon Ancestor, why would she be? However, the bigger picture was the most important. She was waiting for Yi Chen to grow up completely. Once he became enemies with the red-eyed Black Dragon clan, Yi Chen would inevitably be affected. If anything happened to Yi Chen, all her efforts would be in vain. Chapter 923. The Sky Eagle King suspected that he was hallucinating. What did the other party say? He wanted the Black Dragon Old Ancestor to talk to him? Who was the Black Dragon Old Ancestor? He was an existence comparable to Su King, Air Emperor, and the others. Even the Dragon King was slightly inferior to him. Although Yi Chen was a peak king, he had just matured. Whether he could escape the pursuit of a titled monarch was still an unknown. Yi Chen, don't make a mistake. The consequences of offending the red-eyed Black Dragon clan is not something a peak king like you can bear. Even if Xianhou joined in, it would still be impossible. Sky Eagle King said loudly. Yi Chen narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Take your people and get the hell out of this island. I'll give you 3 days to retreat. After 3 days, you'll be killed without mercy." The island where the Dragon God Celestial Palace was located was extremely huge, equivalent to a small domain. It was impossible to evacuate in a few hours. Therefore, Yi Chen gave the other 3 days. Of course, if the other party dragged the time, they couldn't blame him for being merciless. With his peak king strength, he could easily slaughter the enemies on the island. Retreat. After operating the Undying Art, Whirlwind King, whose aura was extremely weak, coldly glanced at Yi Chen and said word by word. "Yi Chen, you're on your own." Sky Eagle King was furious, but he had no choice but to swallow his anger. He was looking forward to the Black Dragon Old Ancestor teaching Yi Chen a lesson. Even if he couldn't kill him, he would make him flee like a stray dog. As for now, it was better to retreat first. At worst, he could reoccupy this different island. In any case, with the Black Dragon Old Ancestor's strength, he could turn the sky upside down for Yi Chen. Are we really going to retreat? How can this Yi Chen have the strength of a peak king? To be able to easily defeat 4 kings, if he wasn't a peak king, what else could he be? The people of the 4 factions on the island were all dumbstruck, their expressions sluggish. Too powerful. He has just entered life and death realm, yet he is already this powerful. This is too heaven-defying. Someone couldn't help but say. Since Yi Chen did not go all out, Whirlwind King, Black King, and Water Wave King did not have to worry about their lives. Of course, their cultivation base had been reduced by a lot. If they did not have a large amount of supreme grade spirit stones or Zhenyuan crystals to recover their Zhenyuan, they would not be able to return to their peak state within a few years. The retreat proceeded very quickly. On the morning of the 4th day, most of the people from the 4 great powers had already retreated. There were still some people who didn't manage to retreat in time. Yi Chen didn't make things difficult for them. In any case, it was fine as long as the elites left. These people who did odd jobs were mostly ordinary people with very low cultivation. The people of the 4 forces returned to where they had come from. On the huge island, apart from some imprisoned people of Dragon God Celestial Palace and Yi Chen, there were no outsiders. 9-9 Origin Return Formation. No wonder the 4 major forces are eyeing this island. The current Yi Chen was no longer the old Yi Chen. With a sweep of his soul power, he could clearly see all kinds of restrictions and arrays on the island. There were many restrictions and arrays on the island, but the core was an extremely rare 9-9 Origin Return Formation. 9-9 Origin Return Formation was extremely difficult to arrange. It required 81 spirit veins. The higher the quality of the spirit vein, the greater the might of the 9-9 Origin Return Formation. The lowest grade spirit vein on the island was mid-grade, with 64 of them. As for upper grade spirit veins, it reached 27. The surging yuan qi of spirit stones was completely locked in the formation. Then, with the formation as the center, it transmitted yuan qi to other arrays and restrictions, forming a strict system. The 9-9 Yuan Return Great Formation had 3 main functions. First, it could provide power for the other formations. Second, it could gather yuan qi and increase the density of the yuan qi. Training inside it, 1 day would be equivalent to 9 days. For example, if Yi Chen lost a part of his cultivation without using extreme rank spirit stones and Zhenyuan crystals, he would need 9 months to recover. However, inside the 9-9 Yuan Return Great Formation, he would only need 1 month, which would save him 8 months. As for the third function, it was defensive. 9-9 Origin Return Formation could mobilize the boundless Yuan Qi of Spirit Stones and form a powerful Yuan Qi wall, blocking the attacks of external enemies. For a sect, this was extremely important. After all, it was hard to avoid offending a life and death king. If the latter came for revenge, without the protection of the formation, a casual move from him could cause a disastrous loss to the sect. With a few more moves, he could completely destroy a 5th-grade sect without a life and death king. Apart from this, the 81 spirit veins in itself was a huge fortune, enough to make any 5th-grade sect green with envy. It was impossible for the 4 parties to let go of this fat meat in front of their mouths. Occupying this island was naturally a must. Unfortunately, the arrival of Yi Chen made them spit out the fat meat they had swallowed. One could well imagine how painful it was. The space twisted, and a white-robed Xianhou appeared in front of Yi Chen. "Senior Yan." Yi Chen looked over. "If I'm not wrong, your battle strength should have reached the high stage of 4 stars, or even the peak stage." Xuanhou's insight was not something that Whirlwind King and the others could compare with. Yi Chen said honestly, more or less peak stage. Before creating the second sword of vibrational sword arts, Yi Chen's battle strength was the high stage of 4 stars. Now, it would not be too much to say that it was peak stage. Of course, without verifying it, he could not be sure. "Very good." After receiving Yi Chen's reply, a smile appeared on Xuanhou's face. "You are proficient in the space ultimacy. As long as you are not pursued by titled monarchs who are proficient in speed, there will not be more than 3 people in Elysium who are confident of killing you. However, you cannot be careless. If you can avoid offending titled monarchs, it is best not to do so." A battle between monarchs was ever-changing. No one dared to say that they would always be undefeatable, and titled monarchs were titled monarchs after all. Their attacks were extremely powerful. "That is natural." Yi Chen nodded. "As for the Black Dragon Patriarch, you do not need to worry. In a situation where he is not confident, he will not come looking for trouble. Back then, your senior Dragon King was weaker than him, but he did not come looking for trouble. As long as we do not take the initiative to provoke him, it will be fine." The Black Dragon Patriarch was a demon king who had lived longer than the Dragon King. In Elysium, the lifespan of humans was 1,000 years, but the lifespan of demonic beasts was more than that. This did not mean that Elysium favored demonic beasts. It was mainly because humans were born with intelligence. Some demonic beasts might not have much intelligence even after living for hundreds of years. In terms of the day they were born, many demon kings had lived for more than 1,000 years, or even 2,000 years. However, in terms of the day they gained intelligence, the life of a demonic beast would not exceed 1,000 years. As a demon king who had lived for so long, the Black Dragon Patriarch cherished his feathers very much. He would not easily cause trouble. Unless he was 90% sure of success, he would not strike. The news of Yi Chen's domineering return and defeating the 4 kings of Eastern Shallow Ocean spread like a violent storm. In a short period of time, it spread throughout the entire True Spirit continent. Then, with True Spirit continent as the center, it spread to the 4 shallow ocean regions, 4 deep ocean regions, and the other 2 continents. At this moment, as long as it was a populated place, whether it was a tea house, a restaurant, or some other lively place, everyone was talking about Yi Chen. Entering life and death realm at the age of 32, a peak king as soon as he became a king. This Yi Chen is definitely the #1 genius after Yuan Emperor. His future is boundless. Isn't that right? The Eastern Shallow Ocean's 4 kings are not ordinary kings, but high-step kings. For them to lose to a genius who has just entered life and death realm, it speaks volumes. Yi Chen is the leading figure of our True Spirit continent's young generation. Now that he is the first to enter life and death realm, Duguju, Dantai Mingyue, and the rest must be secretly exerting their strength as well. I wonder who will be the second to enter life and death realm. Will it be Duguju? Or will it be Dantai Mingyue? Or perhaps the veteran Luo Tiandu? Difficult. Entering life and death realm is no small matter. One needs to comprehend life and death Dao. Death Dao is easy to comprehend, but life Dao is not. In a short period of time, Yi Chen's fame skyrocketed. If his identity was limited to the ranks of geniuses before, then now he had become an influential figure in Elysium, comparable to Su King, Xianhou, Evil King, and the rest. In the future, when talking about geniuses, Yi Chen would definitely be mentioned. It was just like before when people talked about geniuses, they would first mention Xianhou. Peking? He really can't be underestimated. After receiving the news, a strange light flickered in Air Emperor's eyes. In the eastern deep sea, there was a black island. At the center of the island was a majestic city. In the center of the city was a palace. Sky Eagle King pays his respects to old ancestor. The inside of the palace was vast and deep. Sky Eagle King bowed and cupped his fists. Sky Eagle King, I already know your purpose in coming here. Go back. On the black golden dragon throne, an old man with eyes like lightning spoke with an expressionless face. Sky Eagle King raised his head in astonishment. Old ancestor, what do you mean? The old man was precisely old ancestor Black Dragon. He said, don't provoke him for the time being. Let's wait and see. Old ancestor. Sky Eagle King was anxious. If old ancestor Black Dragon didn't help him, how could he take back the Dragon God's celestial palace? Although he had already prepared for the worst, he didn't expect old ancestor Black Dragon to refuse so bluntly. Old ancestor, that Yi Chen clearly knows that our four forces are cooperating with old ancestor, yet he still dares to oppose us. He clearly doesn't put old ancestor in his eyes. If this matter were to spread, it would damage old ancestor's prestige. Impudent. The entire city fiercely shook. Black and red chi flowed out of old ancestor Black Dragon's body. A frightening pressure instantly acted on Sky Eagle King's body, causing his breathing to stagnate and his complexion to turn pale. Old ancestor, please calm down. Sky Eagle King hurriedly said. If you provoke me again, I won't be lenient. Old ancestor Black Dragon coldly snorted. Sky Eagle King's forehead was covered in sweat. Go back. Waving his hand, old ancestor Black Dragon impatiently said. Not daring to say anything, Sky Eagle King retreated out of the palace and entered the void, leaving the island. Daring to oppose me right after entering life and death realm? This debt will be settled in the future. Although old ancestor Black Dragon didn't intend to help the four forces, it didn't mean that he wasn't angry. If there was an opportunity in the future, he would find Yi Chen to settle the debt. Chapter 924. The number of people imprisoned in Dragon God's celestial palace was numerous. After all, no matter how big the secret realm was, the number of people it could hold was limited. It could only transport the elites inside. Due to the island's size and the number of people imprisoned, Yi Chen had no choice but to release a portion of the people and have them liberate the others, allowing them to regroup in the palace plaza. A few days later, everyone was released. The people of Dragon God's celestial palace were no strangers to Yi Chen. One was Xianhou, and the other was Yi Chen. Both of them were firm allies. Now that Dragon King's fate was unknown, Xianhou and Yi Chen were undoubtedly the palace's final reliance. It's Yi Chen. Yi Chen recovered Dragon God's celestial palace. Another Peak King has appeared in the world. Palace Master's eyesight is indeed formidable. Who could have expected that Yi Chen would have the strength of a Peak King as soon as he entered life and death realm? How can you call him by his name? You should call him Dragon God Envoy or His Highness Yi Chen. Tens of thousands of Dragon God's celestial palace's members were gathered in a plaza, discussing spiritedly. As members of Dragon God's celestial palace, although they were usually modest on the surface, they were extremely proud in their bones. However, with Dragon King's departure, Dragon God's celestial palace's position immediately became awkward. Without a life and death king overseeing it, Dragon God's celestial palace would no longer be the Dragon God's celestial palace of the past. Its grade would also drop by a grade, becoming a 6th grade overlord sect at most. This was also the main reason why many 5th grade sects were fervently nurturing their 2nd and 3rd life and death kings. In fact, Dragon God's celestial palace used to have more than one life and death king. At their peak they had 3. Unfortunately, apart from Dragon King, One died in a king-grade forbidden zone, and the other was killed by a star beast. Thereafter, no matter what price Dragon King and Dragon God Celestial Palace paid, they were unable to cultivate the fourth life and death king. They could only set their sights on outsiders, and thus, Xianhou and Yichen came into being. The majestic Dragon God Celestial Palace had been invaded by 4 major forces. This made the members of Dragon God Celestial Palace feel extremely humiliated. In the past, as long as Dragon King was present, who would dare to provoke Dragon God Celestial Palace, let alone invade and occupy it? Therefore, when Yichen reclaimed Dragon God Celestial Palace, they were extremely moved and grateful. Your Highness Yichen, many thanks for saving Dragon God Celestial Palace. An old man of high status stepped forward and cupped his fists. Yichen said, as Dragon God Envoy of Dragon God Celestial Palace, reclaiming Dragon God Celestial Palace is also one of my missions. There's no need to thank me. Back when Yichen was still a Sea of Soul Master, he was conferred the position of Dragon God Envoy by Dragon King. Although his authority was not as great as Azure Dragon Hall leaders, his position was extremely high, second only to Goddess Su Jing. He could be said to be Su Jing's protector and spokesperson. Your Highness Yichen, is Palace Master really gone? Suddenly, another old man stood up and asked. Yichen pondered for a moment, then said, I'm not too clear. Perhaps Senior Dragon King has already left Elysium, perhaps. Yichen didn't finish his words. Entering the death road was extremely dangerous. In the records, even 4 Extreme Emperor hadn't made it out. One could well imagine how difficult it was. Of course, deep in his heart, he hoped that Senior Dragon King had heaven-defying luck and successfully left Elysium. In that case, they might meet again one day. Rumble. Just as the old man was about to continue speaking, the sky suddenly darkened. Black clouds, as if ignoring space and time, quietly gathered together. Black lightning filled the horizon, and a frightening pressure came from the depths of the void, faintly carrying a dragon roar. Dragon might. Yichen squinted his eyes, his expression grave. Dragon might was the will of a giant dragon. Normally, only flood dragons with dragon bloodline could emit dragon might. He remembered that when Yichen first came to Sky Martial region and roamed the savage desolate ancient land, he encountered an ice flood dragon which contained a faint dragon might. Then, in the dragon ruins, he saw a genuine giant dragon skeleton, which contained an extremely powerful dragon might. It was clearly an inanimate object, but it was still difficult to approach. The dragon might before his eyes was countless times more powerful than the ice flood dragon's dragon might. It was even above the giant dragon skeleton's dragon might. After all, the giant dragon skeleton was an inanimate object, and its dragon might was less than 10%. Under this dragon might, the whole heaven and earth turned silent. The seawater gradually calmed down, and the winds stopped blowing. Under life and death realm, no one could move. Even blinking and breathing were difficult. In the whole world, only 2 people could emit such a dragon might. One was the Black Dragon Old Ancestor, and the other was the Dragon King. The Dragon King's fate was unknown, so the answer was obvious. Black Dragon Old Ancestor. Not good. Black Dragon Old Ancestor is here. Everybody screamed inwardly, their faces turning pale. Black Dragon Old Ancestor was one of the oldest titled monarchs in Elysium. Although he didn't often appear in public, there wasn't a single peak martial artist who hadn't heard of his name. Black Dragon Old Ancestor had personally come. Clearly, Yichen had angered him. Yichen, you're really daring. A loud voice could be heard, which felt like the might of the heavens. Black Dragon Old Ancestor, why don't we meet? Yichen's lips curled into a smile. Meet? I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself and kill you. The cold voice completely ignored the distance and directly smashed down. Many thanks to Old Ancestor for not killing me. How could Yichen not see that Black Dragon Old Ancestor had not come to kill him? He had made such a big commotion mainly to probe and express his attitude, as well as to warn Yichen. Of course, if Yichen's strength and speed weren't worth mentioning, Black Dragon Old Ancestor probably wouldn't mind killing him to prevent future troubles. Therefore, Yichen didn't want to continue angering him, so he gave him a way out. You think by lowering your stance, my anger will be appeased? A resounding dragon roar resounded through the 9 heavens. In the sky filled with black clouds, an enormous black horned dragon was faintly discernible. A frightening dragon might spread out, shaking the heaven and earth within thousands of li. It seemed as if the world would shatter at any moment, falling into a doomsday world. A black dragon claw of the black dragon reached down. This black dragon claw was a bit too big, covering the sun and the moon as well as any light. As a result, when the claw reached down, it gave people a feeling that the sky had collapsed. Each of those sharp nails was like a steep mountain, while the palm was like a plain. The world was turning upside down. Everything was in this claw. I can't block it? Yi Chen's expression changed. The black dragon was not the real body of Black Dragon Old Ancestor, but an illusion of him. His real body should be hiding in the void. Even so, the claw of the black-horned dragon still gave Yichen a premonition that he couldn't block it. Flood dragons were extremely powerful, and the red-eyed black dragon was an outstanding one among the flood dragons, occupying the position of overlord. Flood dragons cultivated to the level of Monster King. Not only was their demonic power unparalleled, their physical body was also unbelievably strong. They cultivated both internal and external energy, and could be said to be invincible among their peers. They didn't need to be too profound to deal a fatal blow. Rumble. The entire island of the dragon god's celestial palace was shaking. The black dragon claw was as fast as lightning, grabbing a corner of the huge island. That 1,000 li perimeter corner was instantly torn off, as if an apple had been bitten off, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. The ocean surged, and tsunamis continued. The black dragon claw retracted. Space profound movement art. In the depths of the void, Black Dragon Old Ancestor's voice carried a hint of anger. Yichen, you better not continue to anger me. Otherwise, you'll have to bear my strongest wrath. The voice gradually faded away. Black Dragon Old Ancestor had left. I won't be seeing you off. In the sky, Yichen's figure appeared. The black dragon claw was too powerful. Even if Yichen could block it, he would definitely be in a difficult situation. Moreover, he didn't plan to fight to the death with the Black Dragon Old Ancestor, so he didn't intend to block it. Instead, he directly used his space profound movement art to dodge the attack. Of course, this was only him. If it were someone else, they wouldn't be able to dodge no matter how hard they tried. Only the space profound could ignore the limitation of distance to a certain extent. The weak are prey to the strong. Fortunately, I'm not a weakling anymore. The Black Dragon Old Ancestor left as fast as he came. This was mainly because he knew that he couldn't do anything to Yichen. With the space profound, although Yichen couldn't beat him, he could still escape safely. Instead of that, he might as well stop while he was ahead. A slight warning would suffice. If he really set his mind on killing Yichen, it would only make him lose face. However, Yichen also knew that although the Black Dragon Old Ancestor couldn't do anything to him, it didn't mean that the other titled monarchs couldn't do anything to him. Among the titled monarchs of the same level, the demonic Beast King's battle strength was always very strong. In a head-on battle, they were stronger than human titled monarchs. However, in terms of profound, they were weaker than human titled monarchs. For example, if the Black Dragon Old Ancestor was replaced by Su King or the Heir Emperor, Yichen might be able to escape safely, but he might also be killed by the other party. It should be known that Su King, Heir Emperor, and Xianhou all had some achievements in the space profound. They might not be weaker than Yichen. Without the advantage of space profound, Yichen could only rely on his powerful soul force. The space profound had a very high requirement on soul force. The stronger one's soul force was, the stronger the space profound of the same realm would be. As soon as the Black Dragon Old Ancestor left, the black clouds in the sky rapidly dispersed, and the intense sunlight poured down like a myriad of golden rays. The seawater and the ground were suffused with a faint golden color. Recovering from their stiff bodies, everybody looked at the corner of the island that had turned into seawater and sucked in a breath of cold air. 1,000 li of land had been erased just like that. Ordinary life and death kings would have a hard time accomplishing such a feat. Even peak kings wouldn't be able to do it so easily. Only a titled monarch could have such an inconceivable method. Yi Chen's soul power was countless times stronger than everybody else's. Through his soul perception, he could clearly see a grand claw print and 4 finger holes in the ocean. It was like an undersea demon cave, and seawater was pouring in with all its might, filling up the space. However, due to the existence of air, the seawater couldn't fill up halfway. The density of the air was astonishing, and it was contending with the seawater above. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.